What's up Nerfers, and welcome back to my channel where today I'm testing the hotly requested Xshot Piston Pump AEB. This is a spring powered blaster with a motor inside that automatically cocks and fires the spring whenever you pull the trigger. It offers safe, semi and full auto fire modes with the accuracy of a manual springer but the rate of fire of a flywheel blaster. Essentially combining the best of two worlds into something incredibly overpowered. This blaster takes worker Talon mags and they gravity drop effortlessly, which I love. Now, the Xshot Piston Pump is sold on toy store shelves in the USA for around $80 US. But because it's not sold here in Australia, I reached out a couple of months ago to Out of Darts, who lives in the USA, of course. They sent this one across along with a bunch of their upgrade parts. Probably the most noticeable one of these is the front handguard instead of just having the bare barrel poking out. This gives you Picatinny rail up top, M-lock slots on the sides and a handrest at the front to hold the blaster nice and ergonomically. To go inside of that handguard, they did also send a worker threaded barrel adapter. I haven't installed that because I do want to test this with the stock barrel, how it would come out of the box, even though it is looking cosmetically different. But if you do install the worker threaded barrel, it opens up a world of possibilities of different barrel lengths you can use on this blaster. Another part they send, which I haven't actually installed, is the extended battery tray for using larger batteries. The stock battery comes wired for JST-SM and lacks any kind of charging balance cables. So you'll have to use the included USB plug charger for that one. But if you want to get a proper LiPo battery with proper charger, that's where you'd want to go the extended stock, which just adds on the back there. Now, those cosmetic changes like the handguard and the extended space for a battery are good and all, but by far the most impactful thing that they sent me is a series of different upgrade springs. Now, unlike most other Nerf AEBs, this is incredibly simple to change the spring in. Huge props to Xshot for giving us access to the spring at the back. Simply unscrew the buffer tube off of there. Make sure the blaster is deprimed and then simply push in and turn the spring retainer and that spring comes straight out. Put your new spring in and push it in and give it a 90-degree turn to lock it in place. Now, we'll be doing the chrono test today with the stock spring and then all four of those other springs. The accuracy test, I'm just going to stick with the strongest of the bunch. But before we get to the testing, I do need to explain a major problem that this blaster had straight out of the box. If I were to pull the trigger, all you're going to hear is two beeps. If I pull the trigger again, all you're going to hear is two beeps. If I pull the trigger twice very quickly, that's where it actually does something. So every single time that I want to fire this blaster, I have to pull the trigger twice very quickly. I've had this opened up, I've shown people online the internals, we've tried to troubleshoot it. Aside from checking all the solder joints inside of it, I can't see anything physically wrong with it. I've tried depriming it, I've tried resetting it. Ultimately, this one is a little bricked out of the box, but nothing major that prevents me from testing it entirely. And considering how long it took for this to come over from the USA, I don't really want to wait for a replacement to come over. So I'm just going to tough it out and put up with the double tap triggers to do all of the testing today. So give me a like on this video, maybe use the Out of Darts affiliate links down below to help support my channel for toughing it out for you guys and getting through the testing with this downside. And just to show you guys, I can also deprime this blaster. Same method, hold the trigger in for 5 seconds though. There we go, deprimed. Anyway guys, let's kick off the chrono testing with the stock spring and worker bamboo darts. Okay guys, couple of things before we get started with the chrono test. On the front here, I've got the included B-car rifling. Might reduce velocity by 5 FPS or so, not very much. But in actual gameplay use, you will be using that for the accuracy, so may as well have it on for the chrono test as well. I've removed the stock off to make it easy to change the springs between tests. And I'm gonna start off with worker bamboos in the included magazine. And then I'll try worker bamboos in some other mags like an XYL and some regular worker talons. Now the first trigger pull is just going to prime the blaster. And from here on out, going to be doing some chrono testing with the stock spring. 182, 178, 178, 158, 175, 175, 183, 181, 179, 183. That's all 10 shots I had loaded in that magazine. Gonna swap to the weakest of the upgrade springs now, the 1.3. So just got to deprime the blaster by holding in the trigger for 5 seconds. And now I can remove the spring. Swapping now to an XYL mag, which comes with the unicord, just to test compatibility with that as well. Here goes. So that's actually a downgrade spring. Didn't even read. Wow, that is going so slow. That's essentially kid friendly. That must be going like stock elite levels of slow. What if I take the rifling off? 47 FPS. 40. So with this downgrade spring, you can get it to shoot what a Jolt does out of the box. Let's step things up a bit to the 1.4 then. It does feel quite a bit weaker than the stock spring, which would explain those numbers. This time we're using a Worker 20 round mag. Let's see how this does. 60 FPS. 52. 58. 61. 60. 60. So this is another downgrade spring over the stock one, 85 FPS. That's all with the B car on as well. I don't think my chrono is used to reading such low numbers like this. But things should get interesting now as we step up to these two more powerful springs. Let's see how it does, the 1.5. 108, 77, 102, 107, 123, 130, 116, 102, 106, 109. That's all 10 shots of that. So it looks like the 1.5 spring is suited for your HVZ style games where you might have a 130 FPS limit because you're shooting at unarmed people. 1.65 spring. 155. 154. 152. 150. 152. 159. 154, 151, 157, 151. That's all 10 shots. Seems that these were all downgrade springs to get it lower than the stock velocities. Over the chrono, the stock standard spring that comes already in the blaster shot an average of 177 feet per second with a very consistent standard deviation of 7. Now, of the downgrade springs, only really 2 of them are situationally useful. The 1.65 spring averages 152 feet per second, so that's great for super stock games with a 150 cap. And the 1.5 spring averages 108, keeping it below the 130 FPS cap of HVZ events. The 1.4 spring averaged 62 feet per second, and the 1.3 spring only registered a reading once I took the rifling off entirely, scoring 42 feet per second, which is cool, I guess, if you want to down tune it for a young child to shoot around the house, but otherwise kinda useless. With the chrono test concluded, it's time now for the accuracy test. Okay guys, standard accuracy test, a 1 meter round diameter target shot at from 30 meters or 100 feet away using a sandbag as a rest. Now Xshot include their own darts with the blaster, so I'm going to test those in a head-to-head accuracy comparison against Worker bamboos. I'll fire off the Worker bamboos first, then we'll see what these new darts do afterwards. And obviously, after doing the chrono test and realizing the other springs are all down tune options, I've put the stock spring back in. And of course, we have the included rifling on the front. All right, Worker bamboos. Here goes. That's a hit. That's a hit. Actually, not too bad of a grouping. That B car is actually quite controlled with the worker darts. At this velocity though, I am having to aim probably 3 meters up the tree above the top of the target. Is that beeping getting annoying for you yet? And that's all 15 shots. So aiming at the exact same spot, let's see how the brand new included darts that come with the blaster perform in comparison to worker. That's a hit. That one fell short to the right. Same with that. Same with that. That one hit the cinder block underneath. That one went up on the target. That was kind of near the center. Some of these are just spiraling straight out of the B car and then they don't go very far. That one fell short. Fell short. Up on the target. Up on the target. Fell short. Yeah, so these darts definitely seem worse than worker. At the best, they go shorter distance than workers do, but I was aiming at the exact same spot as with the workers, and they were far more dispersed with their grouping. From a distance of 30 meters away, worker darts fired out of the stock blaster had quite an interesting grouping. The width was only 25 centimeters wide or 10 inches, while the height was quite a bit more at 75 centimeters or 30 inches. This kind of shape of spread does seem common in past testing when it comes to 180 FPS blasters shot at this distance. It tells me we're getting towards the maximum end of effective range here, though that shape would still allow you to hit a human-sized target every time, assuming they aren't hiding behind cover. For comparison, the darts Xshot include with the blaster were utterly terrible. I'm not entirely sure why either, they're the same weight, 1 gram each, though they do have a hole in the tip which could make them less aerodynamic in comparison. Of the two types I tested, I'd recommend using the worker darts, which I'll put a link to down below. Okay guys, I come straight from the accuracy test to give you my in-field final thoughts on the Xshot piston pump AEB. Now, although mine has its electrical problems where you need to double tap the trigger every single trigger pull, I have done some searching online and very few people have any kind of issues with it compared to me, seemingly. And at $80 US, making this pretty much the most affordable Nerf AEG on the market, what can you really expect that you might get a couple of lemons? It's a pity that it would take me so long to get a replacement one of these. I would have loved to use it in some gameplay footage, but from my initial testing today, it seems that the accuracy is pinpoint, far better than any flywheel blasters out there, and it gives you that semi-auto or full auto rate of fire as well. Magazine's gravity drop with a quick pull of the extended mag release there. Very quick to change mags, you can John Wick flick it and all of that. And you can also unclear jams if you would ever get one by pulling on the charging handle, which opens the breech. I didn't have any jams with it, so unless you're feeding it incredibly worn out darts that are all bent, I don't think that's going to be a problem for you. Overall, yeah, I would have to rate this blaster quite highly if you can get it into your hands from the USA. Perhaps you have a friend over there that will be able to send one to you, like I reached out to Out of Darts. Speaking of Out of Darts, if you want to get any of these upgrade parts like the handguard here or extended battery tray, or if you want to get those down-tuned springs, hit up those links down below. They do support my channel when you use them, even if you just want to replenish on your dart supply. That's all I have for you today on the Xshot AEB. Like, comment, subscribe, and all of that. Here's 2 other videos you might enjoy. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.